Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Dan from Rebellious Noise, and I am joined, as you can see, by Scott and Rob. Unfortunately, we've got no Lucas today, but he's still going to be giving his thoughts at the end of each match, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Talking of eyes, Rob, looks like yours is healed up quite nice.
Yeah. It's the eye patch thing's gone now, so I'm happy that I
Yeah.
can now get vision. I don't know how Ray done it.
Yeah,
So,
well, just
so that's
like
quite a good
Ray's,
surgeon then, yeah?
Yeah.
Razor's basically just switched, ain't it, as well? Because he had the one eye patch on one, and he's just switched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had a legit eye injury the other day, so I'm and I know it's the same eye as Ray's, but yeah, I'm glad I can see today, basically. And
I was gonna offer you if you wanted my mask. I was gonna send it to you in a post.
that would have been nice, yeah, just in case. But I'm all right for that. It was, yeah,
Good.
it's doing all right.
Cool, so shall we kick off with the kickoff show, which featured the United States Championship match between Apollo Crews defending against MVP, with the caveat that the Hurt Business are not allowed at ringside.
Nice t-shirts, that business. That's my biggest fault on this match.
Business.
Yeah, didn't. Again, common theme. I was cooking my pay-per-view snacks during this. I didn't get to see much of it, but I saw the victory and shocked that it was Apollo Crews. But again, another one of those of why not? I like Apollo Crews, so I'm all right with it. But it just felt like it was going to go MVP's way previously. But oh well.
Yeah. I actually didn't watch. I'd never watched a kickoff unless it's Mania for some reason, and I don't know why I do it because Mania always seems to be about 30 hours long.
Yeah, but it is really exciting.
Yeah. So and it's just even more talking. But yeah, no, I watched the highlight of the finish, which was great. You know, I wanted MVP to win it because it would have built that title more. I mean, how far can Apollo go with it now? That was my only criticism.
It felt like the right time to take it off him, but yeah, a bit strange. But I like him, so fair play to the guy.
Yeah, I think, in fairness, it was the correct decision. Obviously, gave me a point. So
yeah, well,
only one who said a retention for Apollo Crews. So I'm happy. I think eventually what it's going to do, I think it's going to lead to Lashley taking it off of him in the end. So probably just turn around and say like MVP, like well, you couldn't get the job done, so you know I'm going to kind of do it myself. So potentially that's going to happen, or
yeah,
you know. We've obviously announced at SummerSlam as well that Keith Lee's moving over to the main roster, so potentially could throw Keith Lee over into the US title picture.
Well, I heard a rumor that he was rehearsing stuff with those guys in that picture, so it seems like they're going to. But by the time this goes out, Raw's probably just about to happen, so this will be old. But maybe he's involved, but who knows? But
who knows,
yeah. But yeah, again, it's good to keep it on him. I like Apollo Crews. If it does more for him, then great. But it does feel strange because it felt like the right time for MVP.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, like Apollo's great anyway. So yeah, I think it was right decision. So we are now going to throw over to Lucas. What you saying?
I obviously really thought that MVP would win this one. I'm still not sure why he didn't. By the way, I hated that theme that he had. Please go back to the original theme. Don't change it. I felt that the match was just a TV match. I'm not too sure whether maybe they have realised that MVP is not the best in the ring and they just don't really want to do too much in the ring and want to obviously put the focus on to Shelton and Lashley, as it should, to be fair, because they're both great athletes. But maybe they are just all in with Apollo, and you know, going forward we're going to see more Apollo Crews. But Apollo Crews won that match, and obviously I didn't win that prediction point, which I'm sure the guys will be laughing at for that.
Interesting points there, Lucas. I think. I think I agree with what you said. Sometimes I do, so maybe I did there.
So we now move into the main show, obviously at the Thunderdome,
which we haven't had a chance to really talk about yet, have we? So, do we talk about it now, or do we wait till the points in the show? I don't know.
Yeah, might as well get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
Let's not a lot of screens, isn't it?
Yeah, let's not pretend it's that good. I mean, for an entrance, it's great.
It's good.
For Bray's entrance, wow. For the matches, I'm not a fan.
So, do you know what? I'm the opposite. I think it's I love the fact that you can the entrances on like I was going to call it a Titantron, on the screens. But yeah. So all the wrestlers' entrances are on them screens, and then it changes. So I'm interested to see what they see while that's happening. Do they just get a footage of that, or
what do you mean? Who?
So the people that are watching, do they just get all the way through? Yeah. So
I guess they're just watching the network. I imagine it's one big Zoom call.
Yeah.
And I don't think they get a second a camera to look into or anything like that, or a feed. I think it is just watching what we're watching. But the reason I don't like it, I don't really mind the people being in the background. It's just sometimes it didn't really work. Like you know where it really worked, when I weren't sure if there was going to be delay because of like live delay anyway. But when they pump in the clap noise and everybody starts clapping, that was good. I like that. But the fact that you can't actually hear what they're saying, which would be weird because some people are at home keeping it down because they don't want to wake their mum. You know, some people are indoors drunk, screaming. So it would be really weird to have everyone's levels, piped in. But what it's meant is we get awful fake crowd noise, and I just hate it so much. We mentioned it a while back when they kind of did do some testing with it, and obviously like when we talk about football and that, but I really hate it. What I would have really liked is if they kept all the PC people and they had them on the other side, and we saw some of them, and then we saw the fans. Because I thought put them at the bottom and the fans above, but I get that they just want it to be a massive screen, which is cool. But then maybe on the production side or in that corner, have all PC fans. So we have genuine chance. Because don't get me wrong, the PC people, they weren't amazing all the time, but it just added that extra element of like, at least it felt legit. Like we knew they were saying kind of like fight forever on the most basic of matches, but even fans do it sometimes now. So the chants weren't always as genuine, but at the same time, it was a lot better than what we got with this Thunderdome rubbish as far as the fan chants.
Yeah, no, I agree. What I said to I can't remember who I was speaking to, but I said when we first see it, I was like, if they'd have just kept the PC people, like you said, around the outside, and then if they'd literally just raised the screens up a bit so they were behind them so you could still see them, then that way you've got a genuine noise, and then you've got everyone else watching.
Yeah.
Other than that,
ideal. They could have just merged the two ideas together, but I don't know why they didn't.
Other than that, though, my only criticism was people were standing out too much because they were wearing like a bright green top. If they'd have just color contrast everything, so they put like a blue shade over every camera, or a blue,
like they do with the audience anyway. Yeah, they do have those. Lights,
so just dark them out a bit, and then that way your focus would have been in the ring and not that guy over in the corner wearing a green top.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That would have been my only issue with that. That's my only problem with it.
Because I'm guessing they gave them guidelines anyway. Because I did see the ad pop up and think, oh, maybe. But I just couldn't be bothered. But I was tempted by it. But I guess they got guidelines of, like, don't wear certain shirts and stuff
they
like
have.
that.
They sent a thing out to everyone, apparently, that so they're not allowed to wear any, like, rival brand company T-shirts, which obviously is a given. I think they say you have to have only your head and your, like, top half in the frame. Something like you're only allowed to have one person in the shot at any one time.
Because I did notice once a guy did pull back on like a bed and another guy came in, and I did think that, like, I noticed that straight away. So that's probably why they put that rule in.
Yeah. So, and I just think for me, I think I don't like it. I think it's just too, like, as Rob said, I think it's too bright for a start.
Too much, yeah.
And also it makes me think, what's the point of them having the barrier still around the ring? Like, who the fuck's going to jump in the ring?
Yeah, I guess it's just
someone going to like jump out. Someone going to jump out the screen, and then it's like when I can't remember which match it was, but it might have been the Falls Count Anywhere match, but where they were fighting and you could actually see there was a bottom row that was actually behind the barrier. So it's like you couldn't
be seen. Yeah.
Couldn't even see them anyway.
They did change them up though. That's probably why. But it was a very weird experiment. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. And Thunderdome, is this 1995? Thunderdome, of all the names, just so cheesy.
Apparently, it's booked right the way through until the 30th of October. Is apparently the report. So
but that venue is booked.
Yeah, that venue and the
Okay.
Thunderdome concept apparently up until so the next pay-per-view is obviously Payback, and then they've got Clash of Champions in September, and then no other pay-per-view until the first weekend in November. So
Right.
Wow.
potentially that could be when they're looking to try and get fans back, but
We'll
who
see
knows
about
what
that one.
situation the world's in at that time. So yeah, so anyway, good thing they didn't get Hulk Hogan to come out and introduce it. He'd have introduced it as like the Silver Dome. So
The Lightning Dome, brother.
yeah, Thunder Lips in the Thunder Dome, eh? So yeah, should we get on to talk about a bit more about SummerSlam then, boys?
Let's talk
suppose
about
so.
it. Yeah.
Let's do it. So the main show kicked off with the first of 2 women's championship matches that Asuka will be challenging for. The first match, she faced off against Bayley. Now, me and Scott both said Bayley was coming out of this still as Bayley dose straps. Rob, yourself, and Lucas both said that Asuka was coming out of this one with the blue belts. So, what did you guys think of the opening to SummerSlam 2020?
I really enjoyed it. It was a great opener. I think they could have used someone else, but I think with the fact that the storyline, the way it's building, and that it was like the perfect thing, and then it kind of spaced both of them women's matches out. As we said, we didn't know. I thought they would have done them back to back, so it would have been unfair on Asuka. That's how they would have pushed it, but they didn't. They gave her some space, which was really nice. The match itself was really good. I enjoyed the interference from Sasha. The way she wanted to interfere but didn't, but kind of did anyway. I wasn't impressed with the ending. I didn't like the roll up. I thought it could have been at least a finisher and then something just to prove a point. The roll up was a bit sneaky for me.
Yeah, I think it's a theme throughout the show, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, maybe they went with a roll just because if you do a finisher, it's a bit more definitive, and we've got another match to get to between them. So like if you do a roll up, it's a quick like taking advantage of. But next time I'll get you. Sort of like in a Iron Man match or Iron Woman match, it would have been in this case. But like in that, the first fall isn't usually a finisher. I don't think anyway. So maybe it was because of that. It was kind of seen the same way as that. But like you said, like I think the pacing was good. I think it could have been slightly better. I really do think this should have been between the 2 men's world title matches because that brought up some issues in itself, in my opinion. But yeah, I think spreading them out the way they did was great. Just one more match along, I think would have been even better. But we'll get to that other match obviously later. As far as this one goes, yeah, like you say, Rob, like kicked off really well. You had that really weird like diving. I think Bayley dove off the steps and did a DDT mid-air, like to Bayley, which was quite cool. Yeah, it was, and like you say, the ending, that kind of like Sasha kind of awkwardly getting involved to kind of lead to the win, which obviously will come in later on. But yeah, as a match, as an opener, pretty decent. I kind of knew, like obviously my prediction was, and it was the same order as well, that it would be this way round, and then the other match would happen later, and that's the one where she'd win it. So for me, I think it was the perfect way to do it as far as that goes.
You were the only one that got it dead on with both
matches.
So.
Didn't want to mention it, but glad someone did.
It's one of we literally did cover. We said on the predictions that we literally covered every single base with it, so we knew guaranteed someone was getting it 100% correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I thought it was good. I think the way they did the finish with like Sasha getting up on the apron and then like Bayley moving out the way, and that obviously played into the finish of the match later on with the same thing pretty much happening, but Bayley like ducking out the way kind of thing. Yeah, I think as we said, like the roll-up finish, I think did help that fact of obviously Asuka not needing to like take a big finish and then obviously get a pin off of that, and then obviously Sasha beating her down after the match to try and soften her up a little bit for later on. So yeah, I think overall, I think it was a very strong opening to the show. Always like with the women's matches now, it seems like they are giving them more of that like just go out there, do your thing kind of thing. It doesn't seem like it's really heavily like planned out and stuff. It's just like, go out there, there's your time, go out, do what you need to do, have a banger, and then, you know, essentially follow that. So, yes, I think it was good, and I think it's the right result. I think eventually it is going to lead, obviously, to Bayley Sasha for the SmackDown Women's title at some point. Part of me hopes that they hold it out until WrestleMania. Have maybe Sasha win the Rumble.
It's a really, really long way. I mean, already it seems like it's been delayed already for obvious reasons, but I can't see it being that long. I don't know, because they'd have to really, really put the brakes on them. Like, it already feels like they could even lose their titles this, you know, a payback. So who knows? Who knows?
Possibly.
Maybe it could be gearing up from this point, or like you said, it could be held off to a bigger point. But again, if you get the big ones, obviously Survivor Series or Rumble, but like you, I'd rather see it at Mania. I don't know. If
it's just how they get there, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a long, long time away.
I mean, the only other way I can see them potentially doing it is if they drop the tag titles and then I'm not sure what brand Sasha's actually assigned to, but they've got the draft, obviously. Well, apparently they've got a draft coming up soon, so I'm guessing that's October time. So whether they have them like on separate brands, and then that's how you get to it at maybe like the Royal Rumble thing, where you have Sasha enter it as, say, a Raw competitor, then she wins the Rumble, goes on to Mania, and chooses Bayley. It's a possibility, but it's a bit of a convoluted way, but they'll eventually get there. It's going to be an absolute banger. But I think, though, if that does go on Mania, that is main eventing.
Could do, yeah.
It's a big call, but that is...
No, I think it has every right to be honest. Like, the story would tell from all the years and the performance they've put in. You know, just like their TakeOver Brooklyn performance years ago, people still talk about that. And that wasn't on the bigger, you know, bigger stage, but it definitely could be.
Yeah, to me, do you know what? That just sounds like the perfect way to. It's like written poetry, if you know what I mean. It's like they start at the main event something as the Iron Man or Iron Woman?
Iron Woman, yeah.
So they were the first to do that and headline a takeover. You know, and if they ever got the chance to do it at Mania, that's the perfect ending to their feud as well.
Yeah, it's a great little bookend.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I agree. If they're gonna do it, then if they want to hold on to Mania, at least do it like kind of the way Dan said, because that way you split them up and there's a break between them.
Yeah,
it is starting to get a bit.
Yeah,
we've done it now.
There's only so much you can do. Like hinting it, I think they need a bit of time apart if they are going to spread it that long. But yeah,
exactly. So we now are going to throw over to our external correspondent, Lucas.
Really enjoyable match this, to be fair, and both Asuka's matches went about the same time and they weren't too long. I think they've learned that perhaps less is more. The pacing of the show overall is something which we'll get to a bit later on, but I thought it was really good. I liked how Asuka still looked a threat here, and I really liked the finish, how it wasn't, you kind of had a few red herrings thrown in there throughout the match, made it more enjoyable. But Bayley retaining is good, I think, and was a sign of good things to come.
Nice one, Lucas. Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. The Asuka lock was not very successful in this match. So we now move on to the Raw Tag Team Championships, where the Street Profits defended the championships against Andrade and Angel Garza, or as we are calling them, the Vega Boys. We all said that the Vega Boys were coming out as new champions, and we were all wrong. The Street Profits retained. You know, it was a good little match. I think, obviously, prediction-wise, it wasn't very good, but I think in the end it was the correct decision, booking-wise.
I think the same as what we were saying on the predictions. It depends what they're going to do. Are you going to start letting them wrestle? Because if so, keep the titles on them. Because the first few minutes of Montez Ford's like explosive kind of action and stuff, it just made me go, this is why I like Street Profits. You know, like they're not just the comedy at backstage. And we said it again on predictions. Like, we enjoy that stuff, but they don't need the tag titles for that. So if you're going to put them in the ring and let them be who they are in the ring, then great. And this match, it just made me go, oh, if you're going to do this, then cool, keep the titles on them. But if you're not going to do that, and that was the one time you were going to do it around that because you're going to go back to backstage silliness, then take titles off and put them on the Vega Boys, because they're exciting as well. You know, like they are a threat. They were building as more of a threat than a Hurt Business, and now the Hurt Business have gone past them. You know, the Vega Boys were Raw for a while. You know, that McIntyre feud. So they kind of like bridged the gap in the early kind of pandemic era. So I think they need to be continued to be pushed, and them not winning the title was a bit of a shame in that sense. But again, performance-wise, incredible. Made me remember why I like the Street Profits, and enjoyed the match in general.
Yeah. See, I was hoping that the Vega Boys were going to win, not because of the point system, but as you said, they weren't going anywhere. You know, the Street Profits are only as good as where they are, and I don't think they could get any better. And then they really proved me wrong in the match. As you said, they were just doing nothing but comedy, and all of a sudden they had this match, and look how great it was. But saying that, you have to give props to the Vega Boys. Look how good they were. You know, their chemistry in the ring, the way they work together. You know, I mean,
they feel like a real team.
It's been really, like, I've really enjoyed everything they've done so far. I'm just hoping they keep them two together and push them in a direction. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just been a waste of time.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Selena, like there's so much you can do with her being the group's manager, you know. So
yeah.
And again, I like the way they factored that in as well. It was like if you're gonna do those kind of like all over the place finishes, this is the best way to do it. Where it was quite, you know, she inadvertently kind of cost her own team because Andrade ran after her to see if she was alright, and then the Garza going to the corner, be like, well, where are you? So that was really cool. I really like the way they did that. Now, usually that kind of thing would lead to like a rift between them, which I can't, you know, I hope it's not going to happen, because I think they've got something here with the Vega Boys. So I hope they just they start running with it rather than split them, because that's not a feud we need anytime soon.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, as you guys said, like I liked obviously the way that it ended was a bit obviously all over the place, but I think it worked out pretty well in the end. I think it was, if they were going to lose, it was the best way to do it, like isolate one of them and obviously have the other one go and check on Zelina. But you know, I think if it was just like, especially the story that's been playing out on Raw with the whole like poisoning thing, I think that would have been that would have been a bit stupid, I think, to have them then like win, because they always like, they get their comeuppance kind of thing.
Sure.
And in this sense, the comeuppance was the fact that the Street Profits kept the championships. But, I mean, I just can't really see now where they're going to go from here with those Raw Tag Team titles, because it's, you know, we've said previously that, you know, the tag team division is not the best, but
maybe this feud continues and that's it. You know, like when you used to get Usos versus New Day for 6 months in a row. Maybe it's just going to go like that, because they need to be facing someone. They need to be facing a heel team. The only heel team I'm seeing worthy at the moment are the Vega Boys. So
exactly. So yeah, so Lucas, what do you think of this?
I thought it was solid tag action. Obviously a little bit too short, but with respect, you know, these teams haven't really been doing much apart from getting poisoned a few weeks ago. Ford, though, is an MVP of any tag team, and just some incredible stuff that I've noted down here. The DDT reversal he did, where he managed to land his feet from like an undertook hot DDT, just phenomenal. And the frog splash, just a thing of absolute beauty. He was at least 20 feet high in the Thunderdome. And yeah, they're still longest running tag champs in 5 years, which is incredible on the main roster, that is, not including NXT.
He loves a bit of the Vega Boys, that Lucas.
Wise words there. He's on the Vega bus.
He did crown him that name, to be fair. We should remind
to him.
Well done. We're keeping it alive even when you're not here, Lucas.
So we now move on to the match between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Now, at first, this match was slated to be a hair versus hair match. It was announced and everything like that. But obviously, if you have been looking at social media over the last week and a half, then you will know that there was an incident with Sonya Deville that happened. And, you know, we're not going to give that guy any publicity whatsoever, but
you probably heard, yeah.
you probably know what's going on, and due to that, Sonya Deville was actually advised by her lawyer that it wouldn't be a good idea for her to go to court with a shaved head. So that was the reasoning. Yeah, so that is the reasoning behind WWE changing the match, the stipulation of it. Although she could have really had a shaved head and just put a wig on, but don't think it would have had the same.
It's so weird that if that is true, like how, like we were talking about this when we were predicting it, like perception of like baldness and like how it isn't what it used to be as far as like people don't look at it as far as haha you're bald. Like the stipulation didn't have the same kind of shine as it used to, but strangely for a woman it would still a little bit more, and that's weird that. If that is true, that a lawyer would think, oh, you don't look as sympathetic if you show up bald. How weird is that? Like, that must have been what, if that's the reason behind it, it's because, you know, they wanted to look sympathetic. But either way, it was a bit of a cluster changing the what do you call it, stipulation, and the loser leaves. I guess it's because, because of what's going on, maybe she needs some time off, which, fair play,
yeah.
You know, like.
I think she's going to take some time off. Yeah, I think take some time off to pursue some other projects, and she'll be back. I'm not sure, did either of you see the video that came out after the match as well?
No.
So on WWE.com, they were trying to get a word with her, and the guy was like, oh, Sonya, talk about the match. And she literally just pushed the cameraman out of the way and said, don't call me that. So potentially when she does come back, it may be with a different persona, different name perhaps.
That's really weird. I didn't know they did that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of strange. So
what also didn't help is Mandy cutting her hair as well.
Exactly.
Before the thing. Like we said on the predictions that it was annoying that Braun cut his hair and it was going to be on the same show where someone, you know, he'd be showing up bald with this. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange decision there, but we can't really look into it too much because, like, you know, you alluded to, so much has gone on this week with that match that, you know, who knows. They did what they had to do, I guess. So, but the match itself, it's all right. I wasn't that impressed, to be honest. It was a bit of a slow start, bit clustery at the beginning as well. I think the way they did the ending, and even though like I'm not a fan of Otis having the Money in the Bank, I still like Otis. I still think he's quite funny. So him running down and celebrating all made sense. But like the entire match, I felt like Mandy Rose was the heel. Like I know she was meant to be really upset with how she had been treated by her best friends, and you usually do get that like a little bit more aggression come out. But I think this is really hard without an audience to kind of gauge what's actually going on there, because she was just really, like ramping it up in like a really kind of aggressive way that just made me feel like, oh, I don't know if you're that sympathetic after all, you know? So, and then it weren't until, what's his face? Money in the Bank man, Otis, came running down, that I was like, oh, they're all babyface. I was, oh, lovely little story they've done, nice little couple, or they're mates, whatever it is, who knows, it's lovely. And then I remembered, oh, Mandy's a good guy, you know? So it was a bit weird on that aspect.
And remembered Otis is still Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and that was a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I think they tried to make the best out of a really bad situation. I mean, the only thing they could have done was if Sonya loses, she leaves, and if Mandy loses, her hair gets cut. They could have just added that hair so it was still there, and slightly changed the stipulation so it can go either way. So then you wasn't sure, you know, because the minute I see that, and obviously everything that had been going on with her, I was like, well, she needs a break. So obviously she's losing. So the way the match was called, it was like that. But I don't know, for some reason, when she walked in, she seemed like a babyface. I don't know if it was just me, but she just seemed like she was the babyface for the match. It
is hard because of what's been going on that you have the natural kind of like, oh, this girl's been through a lot this week. You know, like I think because they kind of touched on it in the promo package. I saw something where they kind of alluded to what had gone on. And it's kind of hard not to do that, you know? So again, like you said, like, well, I think that's probably what made Mandy feel like the heel even more, you know? Like I felt sympathetic to Matt Hardy. I mean, Sonya Deville.
Matt Hardy.
You must have seen that outfit when she came out of full delete. As soon as she came on the stage, I was like, whoa, broken. Yeah, but oh well.
You know, and let's not forget, like Mandy was actually there as well with her. So
I know,
it was, you know, it must have been hard for the two of them to actually go out there, put on put on a show. And I don't think they left much behind. Like, they literally went all out for each other, and they made it look like they really hated the bones of each other.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard hitting, and don't get me wrong, I think they put the effort in, and it was all right. It's just, I think it was a bit of a clunky start, and maybe it was the distraction with everything else going on with a million screens, and I'm not sure who's facing heel and why they're leaving, where's their hair thing gone, and all this kind of stuff. Who knows? Maybe that played a part, but and then obviously clunky things like Mandy Rose not being able to put the table up. That was maybe a little awkward. So maybe they were just too many distractions. But I appreciate what they did. I think they still, considering what happened this week for both of them, like you say, they performed very well. So I don't want to be too harsh on the match.
Yeah, they did well, and obviously a nice point for all of us, because we were obviously doing our predictions when we thought this was going to be hair versus hair. We all said that Mandy was going to come out victorious, and obviously the booking then seemingly didn't change necessarily. It was just a case of, okay, we're going to change the stipulation. We're still going to have Mandy win the match. And so, yeah, Mandy Rose was the winner. And we will throw over to our Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville expert, Lucas, for his expert thoughts on this no disqualification match.
I felt this really missed the mark, sadly. And I didn't understand the reason for changing the stipulation. I felt that the hair versus hair would have done it just fine, and we didn't have enough spots for the no DQ stipulation. And with there already being a street fight and a full count anywhere match, it sadly just didn't deliver. And some bloody awful acting at the end by Sonya, which made it all really very cringy. But my boy Otis, he saved it afterwards, coming out with the Caterpillar and Mandy Rose. I don't know what's going to happen now, because obviously we get to the main event and what happened. I don't know if Otis is going to be involved in any of that. They might even need to switch the brand with him. But I love just seeing Otis. Please more Otis, and please more R-Truth. Please bring the 24/7 title back to things as well, please.
Cheers, mate. Much appreciated. So we throw from a no disqualification match and we go into a street fight. And that was between Dominick Mysterio and the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. So, first of all, I want to know, guys, do the Mysterios have a deal with Louis Vuitton? Because you had Angie in her Louis Vuitton dress, Rey Mysterio in a Louis Vuitton mask.
He's worn a mask like that before, though, ain't he? So I think he's just got it customized and likes it. But,
I think he's worn them to, like, I think Hall of Fames. He normally gets the customized ones. Sorry, Rob, our budget don't.
Sorry, mate.
Our budget don't stretch to yours. It's more like our budget's more Poundland than Louis Vuitton. So.
I just need to do reb noise like round about here or something.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Croc Life or something. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit full on with all the Louis Vuitton, but I guess I reckon he saw her put that dress on and thought, oh, you're going out. You know, when you go out with someone there and you realise they're dressing up more than you thought. You go, I better put my nice topper on. Yeah. So I think he's seen her dress and went, I know what mask I'm wearing. Pull out that Hall of Fame mask, maybe. Put a little eye patch in it. We're good to go. But yeah, as far as the match goes, it was good. I thought it was really enjoyable. I thought some of this stuff with Dominik and Bray has the danger of going into super cheesy, but they played it really well. And I'll jump all the way to the end, even though there's a million things happening in the match that I'd like to talk about. But the ending, just I love it. Like the handcuff thing years ago with Randy Orton, Triple H, and Steph. That was great. I love things like that. And this one was don't know what it says about me as a person, but this one was really cool as well. And they emphasised Dominik having to give Ray the key back as well to unlock himself. And Ray was defenseless against Satini's son. Like that, and Angie at the top of the ramp where he might be going for her, and I thought it was really well played. And saying in the predictions as well that Seth kind of was losing his way. It felt, we weren't sure what his character was anymore. He weren't as he seemed conflicted as a character, but not anymore. Like he's back in. I'm just evil Seth, and the way he treated that family. Oh, got a feel for him.
Surprised Angie didn't come down and just give him a slap across his face or something. It's like you're just standing there watching You're just standing there watching your husband and your son get their asses kicked.
Yeah, they're getting kicked.
It's like, what the heck?
So the first thing that really stood out for me was what Seth done with the the 1997 Halloween
Havoc.
Havoc look, which was
That was cool.
my very first match that I ever watched, by the way.
Really?
That was a very first wrestling match.
That's a good one to start, mate.
Oh, mate.
It's a high bar, though,
right?
actually. Maybe it's a bad one to start because you're like, wow.
Well, when
Everything's going to be like this.
I just thought Ray was a Power Ranger that went to wrestling. Yeah. So seeing that was a nice little throwback, and the fact that they mentioned it as well was great. My only criticism was the match was just a little bit too long. It was 20 odd minutes or something. Now I get they wanted to try and drag as much as they could out of the match, but I felt like we had everything within about 15 minutes, and the ending could have been, they could have just delayed the ending and got it to nearly 20. But the extra couple of minutes, it was just so slow at the end, or in the middle, and then it kind of picked up and slowed down again.
Yeah.
When they had us reeling, that's when you should have had that high impact bit and then finished it. But it's just really odd seeing Dominik do a 619 on the opposite side of the way Ray does it. It really threw me. I was thinking, hang on, what's he doing? Then realised what he done.
I think he's left-handed by the looks of it. Like when he smacks for the kendo stick, he looks.
They also did that one outside, didn't he? First, before he did his main one, he did the one on the apron sort of thing. That was cool.
Yeah.
I liked seeing. It was interesting seeing Dominik's style because we were saying before he's had a long time. I think Lucas said it on the predictions. He's had a long time to train. He should be good. You're the son of Rey Mysterio Jr. So he's really bringing. He's, and again Rey's uncle, legend in Mexico as well. So you've got a lot to follow, but you've got a lot to help you along the way. So I expected him to be somewhat decent, and I think he was. I think really good for your first match on WWE TV at least. And it was interesting seeing his style because he's obviously bigger than Ray, but he's Ray's kid, like Charlotte. Charlotte isn't Rick, but she will use kind of Rick motions and actions and stuff like that, and Rick moves. So it was good that you get the 619 and the frog splash seemed obvious things, but at the same time, he's a bigger guy, but he's still pulled off, like tornado DDTs, which someone like Seth is going to be able to help you with, because Seth would have worked that kind of indie style for so many years. We had guys just doing those moves to you all the time, but Seth knows how to lift someone up and pull them around to make him look like a high flyer. So, I think it was a great opponent for Dominik to kick off his career with, and I just was thinking a lot of times how I know Ray's playing this kind of like scared, upset, looking after your kid thing, but there must have been inside of him thinking like a lot of pride and and especially and being so pleased that Seth is looking out for him this way. I mean, you say like Seth was battering him as well with the kendo stick like he had done the previous weeks on Raw, but I thought it was really cool. The gear now here again going on the Mysterio thing for me. I think Dominik should wear a mask because I think...
I was about to say that.
He is going to. It's apparently they've got stuff all sorted for him.
Are they going to anoint him or something like that?
Prince Mysterio.
Yeah, so...
Apparently Ray means king.
Ray means king, yeah. So...
obviously, Rob knows all this anyway.
Yeah, because he's the money king, remember? From the Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
Ray De Niro or whatever his name was.
Lucha Libre background.
Yeah. Here's me telling you about Lucha, Rob. Sorry, mate.
I'm sorry, man. Carry on. Just tell the viewers, Scott.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I just think he should have had a mask straight away. It's weird to put on a mask, but again, we've seen him in promos without masks anyway. We saw the kid grow up, on WWE TV at times, so we knew what he looked like anyway. But they've got a lot of luchas coming in, Andrade and those guys in NXT as well.
Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah, who's specific. And I like that character. I like what they've done there. But then obviously years ago you had Alberto Del Rio. Like loads of people coming in just not wearing a mask. It's not really as much of a thing as it used to be in Mexico, it seems, as far as Mexicans coming over to the US. So, but then I like the hood. But I wasn't sure, did he keep it on when he first came out, like for any length of time? Because I think they should have had it down for at least 15 seconds, let it linger, even like an AJ kind of pose, and then lift it up. It's showing who you are, because that hood kept getting in the way, and it's like, if you're not going to use it that much in the entrance, don't even put it on the outfit, because it got in the way in the ring so much.
See, so I really liked it. I thought what they were going to do, because I see the hood before his mum prayed for him, which I really like, by the way. They showed that side of the family, they are family, like they are a family.
Yeah.
Just before I was in the gorilla position, which was great. And then he walked out, and I was like, all right, that's odd. Like, he had a mask. I kind of see the hood, but I didn't see what was on it. Then when I thought he would have had it, but it would have been down his eyes, kind of covering his face, like a Ray mask.
Yeah.
Then took it off.
Yeah.
But then they should have been able to have, when you have poppers, and you can just pop it off.
Yeah.
On a collar, and then you could
for the
have
match. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So just little things like that, I think. But as you said, if they're working on stuff, then obviously this was good as you can get for now. But I think you're right. He needs to have a mask, and we've seen him without the mask, but just carry on that legacy.
Yeah, and it's, to be fair, like I've always looked quite young for my age, for example. So this isn't a dig or anything like that. Still got ID sometimes for buying alcohol. So, but he looks very, very baby face, like as in a baby face, not as in like a good guy. Like it's a very young look. So a mask, I think, would kind of give him that kind of what do you call it? Like I guess a bit of respect, even. It would distract. Who was it? There was someone else recently. And I kept saying they needed facial hair. On Talking Beans when we're doing wrestling podcasts.
Not Tom, is it? Oh.
It might be Tom. But no, there was someone else where it was like, I just felt like they needed facial hair to be taken seriously because they looked a bit young.
Shayna Baszler, was it?
It wasn't Shayna Baszler. It wasn't, no. Anyway. But
might
yeah.
Angel Garza. No,
it was someone else that was like a heel. I can't remember now. People that listen to Talking Beans probably... They know what I'm saying. But...
Screaming at the screen right now.
Walter, maybe?
Nah. Oh, well.
Anyway. But yeah, I mean, so for me, just pretty much echoing what you guys said, really. Like, the gear thing, I just thought, if you're going to wear a top, why have the zip on it? Because to me, it looked like it was a ring jacket, and he just forgot what he was meant to be doing. I thought,
it looked like one of Cody Rhodes' old ones when he had that hood.
Yeah, it just seemed like he'd got in the ring and forgot to take the jacket off, kind of thing. So he just went off, sod it, I'll just go with it, kind of thing. I've got to just say though, like, give huge props to Seth. He made Dominik look $1 million in this match. Dominik's worked really hard to seemingly to get where he is, but Seth could have literally turned around and said, well, yeah, I don't really want to work with a rookie. But the fact that, that Seth's kind of given him that rub of like, yeah, I'll get in there with you at SummerSlam. The fact that he's obviously made Dominik look as good as he did in that match. And, he was willing to go with a lot of what Dominik was throwing at him, as well as obviously dishing it out. And yeah, I can see this leading possibly to a tag match at either Payback or, if they're going to eke it out for like Clash of Champions, but then that's obviously a different concept. But who knows? I think at the end of the day, I think Dominik's got a good career ahead of him if he continues in this vein. Definitely, he may be one of these though that benefits from a move to NXT.
I was literally about to ask that. So where after all this has happened, where does he go? Because I don't think he's ready for Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, he's got like earning chops in front of the viewer. I think he's got. Yeah, you're right. Like going to NXT will be like, oh, I am the new guy. I am like he can make it part of his character. I'm willing to learn. And like he doesn't always win because I think it was a good decision to make sure that he didn't just win in this match like a normal we're equals, because they're not equals. You might have a pedigree and a great upbringing and a chance to learn from real young age, but you're not Seth Rollins who's won X amount of titles and been a pro for so many years. So I think it was a wise decision to do it the way they did it.
Yeah, it's a wise decision, but obviously not for us point wise. But all of us said Dominik was going to win, and again though, on the face of it, I think when you look at it, it was probably the right decision. Because if you give Dominik that big win straight off the bat, it's like and then he goes into say a next feud with somebody that's not got as many accolades as Seth, for example, and then he loses. You're going to think like, well, so hang on, you can pull it out against like a multiple-time world champion, but
you can't do it here. Yeah, that's why I think he still has the option to do that NXT route now. So and I think again the way they did do it with Seth actually getting the victory was good, and the only way it could have been with Dominik is if Dominik got help from Ray, and that was only going to happen if something extreme happened because Ray was already trying not to get involved. what else, you know? So the eye, obviously they did the throwback to that. So as much as the eye thing was ridiculous, it was good to use it again in this match, seeing as they've already done that. But yeah, all in all, very good match. Like you say, Rob, probably a bit too long. And but what a weekend though for like rookies, like the Pat McAfee match. I know we're not covering NXT here, but Pat McAfee against Adam Cole as well. You know, what an incredible showing from like imagine that like your first wrestling match seeing Mysterio Guerrero, and it's like the bar is this high. Imagine if this was the first ever non-wrestler celebrity match. You'd be like, wow, Snooki's going to be really good at WrestleMania. if it's like Pat McAfee. But yeah, I thought Pat was great. Obviously, being an athlete and a fan, like it's easier to kind of merge than others might. But yeah, great. Anyway, just want to quickly throw that in there because I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Let's see what Lucas thought of this one.
Really enjoyable contest, this one. I liked the gear that Seth had. I felt that was a really good, like, ultimate dickhead move, you know, onto Rey Mysterio. And I also liked Dominik's gear, though I did think he would wear a mask, though he didn't. He wore like a hooded kind of thing, which kept getting in the way, and you know, I didn't really like that, to be fair. I like the use of weapons though in the match, and I felt that Dom did very good. It's very difficult because this is a weekend. We've had Pat McAfee on NXT, then we had Dominik on SummerSlam show, sorry. Like obviously as basically newcomers to the business have debut matches, which is quite incredible on the second biggest show of the year. But I think they pulled it off. Maybe a little bit too long, but that's kind of what Rollins does nowadays. He's a bit more methodical and slow. I think the story here is really good. And my bold prediction for WrestleMania goes Hollywood next year is that Rey Mysterio versus Dominik will be on the card as Rey's retirement match. I think that's why he's re-signed and what we're going to get going forward.
Do you know what's been really bugging me? Every time I've heard them say is the great or good. Can they stop that? Because every time I hear it, I instantly think of Simon Pegg telling them to shut up from Shaun of the Dead. And it's just find something else. Like the great or good, I get it, but you know, that's a better catchphrase than somewhere else, and it's comedic. So every time I hear it, I can't take them seriously.
But you know what WWE like? They run with this stuff, you know. They can't let it go, mate. It's here for a long time.
Yeah, great.
For the great good.
Exactly. So talking of for the greater good, was it for the greater good of the Raw Women's Championship that Asuka came out victorious in the next match?
For my points, yeah, like we mentioned earlier. I feel like if you're going to do it, this is the best way to do it. But again, like every month we do this kind of Bayley Sasha kind of conundrum booking situation. But who knows? Depends what they do next. I mean, it feels like the natural way to go, but so many times we thought it was about to be the breakup, and it's not. But maybe it is just another seed sown for 6 months down the line, or maybe it is all going to come to payback. But for the eventual breakup, this was the best way to do it. It just depends when it's going to be. But yeah, and Asuka, why not, man? Like, she deserves it. She shouldn't have had the title taken off her in the first place. The way they did all that was ridiculous. So, whatever. But again, it just makes you think, all that was kind of pointless then, wasn't it?
That's exactly what I thought. The match was great. Both of them done really well. The only thing that really stood out for me, though, was in the match against Bayley, Sasha took the hit, so then Bayley could get the win. And in this match, Bayley moved and Sasha got the hit. And then that's obviously led up to her losing. So I hope that's something that helps them start to break up. Other than that, I think that's something that match was for, really, to give Asuka back the title and start this feud. Yeah.
And you had the backstage interview as well, where they were leaning a bit more into it being more obvious they were going to have a rift as well, because they were like, will you do the same for her, sort of thing? And Bayley kind of did a bit of a look as if to say, maybe, you know. So yeah, it feels like they're getting really obvious with it now. It feels like they're really starting to step it up. So surely it's coming soon. Did you notice that weird backstage area though, that they were just in a ring?
Yeah.
What was that about? Whatever.
It looks alright. I suppose it's kind of like when they did the stuff at the Performance Center, though, when they were always like, they'll be talking backstage and there was like the ring in the background. So I guess it's just like a little training ring they've got backstage. But
yeah,
it was something different, I suppose, than just having like the and it looked like there was more screens and stuff there as well. So
never have too many screens at the
they're literally
Thunderdome.
I got to say, man, Curry's PC World has definitely had a bloody bit of money out of them this month.
I hope they had some sort of discount, mate. That's a lot of
buying in bulk, and they must have a bloody good internet connection as well to be able to run all of them streams. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to the point in hand. So, Asuka obviously came out of this as the Raw Women's Champion. I actually said that Sasha was going to come out of it and break a hoodoo of not retaining a championship on pay-per-view, but there's obviously still going to be that niggling thing that's going to be like playing in the back of her head, I think, and that's I think this would have been the perfect time for her to actually do that, because obviously having Bayley in her corner, but then it does seem like Bayley's a bit like selfish in the sense of like, well, I've got my title, don't why am I going to worry about you keeping yours, sort of thing. And I think in the end Asuka is probably the best person to hold that Raw Women's Championship. I think it's going to lead into a feud now with Asuka and Shayna Baszler. It's going to be a bloody good feud, and I think Shayna is definitely going to become the Raw Women's Champion at some point, possibly Clash of Champions. I thought that she should have taken it at WrestleMania, which Becky, obviously Becky 2 belts. Becky wanted Shayna to take the title, but there was a certain person backstage sitting in Gorilla that didn't want Shayna to take that title off her, but
I want it, so it better happen.
Anyway, so
she needs to get that title, but
yeah. So it was a very good match. The ending, obviously, very similar to what happened in the first match, and as Rob said, like Bayley obviously moving out of the way. It was nice, like that Sasha was actually calling out for her as well, where she's like Bayley, and then obviously Asuka tapping her out. So. Yeah, so there we go. That was the Raw Women's Championship. Lucas, what do you think?
I really like this. I still can't really decide whether Sasha Banks is overrated or underrated. And I've said this before on the podcast. I believe that, she is very good in this role that she's got with the moment with Bayley. Though she still can't defend a Raw Women's Championship, and she did lose. But I think it opens up more direction for this, and I guess we are going to kickstart perhaps a whole winter program of Bayley against Sasha Banks. But really enjoyed that, and liked afterwards how Sasha and Bayley kind of acted. Though I would have liked to see some more tension there, but I'm guessing we're going to see more Payback next week. That's a problem with having a pay-per-view 7 days after SummerSlam.
So now we move into the WWE Championship match, the match that you'll never see coming. It was the battle of the RKO and the Claymore. Randy Orton facing off against WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. Now, obviously, Scott, for you and me, this was a very good match, because we both got a point by saying Drew was going to retain. Rob and Lucas, not so much. He's predicted a title change. What did you actually think of it?
Well, I was watching live and I fell asleep. Now, I don't know if that says something about the match. I don't know, and I don't want to be disrespectful here.
But you're gonna.
I was knackered, to be fair. So, like I said, I had that eye mess up the day before, so I slept not well night before. So maybe it was that, guys. But like the feud, great. But I just thought there was nothing really grabbing me too much in the match. Again, it was just a good match, but it was just at a time in the show where I was like, again, maybe it is because we're in the UK, we're saying that like it was just getting a bit tiring. It's not the kind of match where you want it, like the place where you want that match. Last would have been even worse, but I do think if this was before the previous Asuka match, it would have done wonders for both matches. So, that's a shame. The stuff I do remember, Randy Orton's old school pyro, really cool to see that again, and getting Drew getting all these flames and that. And Drew just looks like a star. Like I said, the storyline's been great. Both of them have worked it really well. And it was a good match. The whole falling asleep thing, I don't think it was because of the match. But yeah, it just it did what it needed to do. I was somewhat shocked, even though I picked Drew to win, somewhat shocked that he did win, because I could see a scenario where Orton won, and I could see a scenario where he deserved to get that title as well. But all in all, it was just exactly what we probably thought it would be. It was, and that's all right.
Yeah, and I think the way they went about the finish as well, we were pitting it as like the RKO versus the Claymore, like hopefully the one finisher and then done. You know, and playing in, obviously Drew was saying, oh, you'll see it coming when I Claymore you in the head and stuff. But then it, in the end, played into the tagline of you'll never see it coming. Like, I'm sure Randy Orton didn't see like a backslide essentially coming to finish the match off.
So, I just want to get your gauge then, you guys, on like what you think of the backslide. Because part of me thinks that is great, you know, because wrestling matches should finish like that at times. But then another side of me thinks it was billed as like this, or this, and it was also billed as you'll never see it coming, but obviously, like, we knew it was about the moves and the strength of those finishing moves. So, I don't know, did you like that it was a backslide?
So when I first see it, I'm not gonna lie, I was quite angry. Because I thought to myself, hang on,
you can't help but think, is that it for this big match? Yeah, you can't help but think that. But
then I guess there was a time when Hulk Hogan used to win with a leg drop. So, you know.
And if it was a real fight, if this was MMA, you don't hit your finisher and then hit the move, you know? Like, things just happen, you know? So that's why I like these kind of finishes sometimes. But I think the stakes being so high are what make it go, not sure. A big SummerSlam event between these guys, when you pushed it in this way, you're going to end like that. But it still did technically go with a tagline.
Yeah. I think, no, it's just so like the roll up or surprise finish kind of thing is just so like overdone in WWE at the moment. I just think if there weren't so many like matches that have finished in that way kind of thing, I think it would have been more of like, oh, it's a shock win. Like Drew's had to like reach deep into his arsenal of moves, and he's actually come out with like a backslide to win the match, and it's kind of gives that element of surprise to the match, like to the finish of it.
Yeah.
But then it's, you know, I think it would have been nice to see Randy Orton just get his head claymore clean off, but then so it does mean now then that the feud can actually just carry on. You know, it doesn't have to be like, okay, this is a one and done thing, because, you know, there's numerous ways that they can still then go with this. The whole thing of like they could even go with a like first to hit their finisher wins kind of thing, where you don't necessarily have to get a pin. But yeah, I think overall, I think it was the right decision to obviously keep the title on Drew. Like, I love seeing Drew as champion. And I just think, you know, it's just building that next challenger for him. But I think for now, Randy Orton is a safe pair of hands to have Drew in there with. And, you know, the amount of stars that Orton at the moment is punting in the head, and the caliber of star that he's punting in the head, it's making Drew like elevated kind of thing with, okay, so Orton's done all of this to these guys, and Drew McIntyre is like getting the better of him here. It's going to just elevate Drew, I think, and Drew's going to hold this title for longer than most people were expecting him to be fair. Yeah,
it's starting to look that way, because they're not, like, this is when I thought they'd take it off him if any time now, I think, because Orton, just like we were saying on the predictions, he's been really impressive lately, and kind of like, you can't begrudge them putting on Orton, you know, he's a superstar, you know, so, maybe...
That's work.
Yeah, and maybe he will still take it, though. Maybe he will still take it, but you'd think it'd be SummerSlam. I don't know. It just feels a bit strange, but really, really well for what they did. Like you said, he's been working so great lately. And another thing that really helps it is the promo package. That one, the Bray one as well, and even NXT, the Karrion Kross, Keith Lee promo package, incredible. And like, they really do, like, production really does make a difference. So props to WWE for that, and even trying to do new things with the Thunderdome. But it's things like that really hype up feuds. But then at the same time, that's what kind of can be a hindrance as well, because sometimes matches don't live up to the hype. So but I really enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed the feud, and I wouldn't mind seeing it carry on.
Yeah, other than the irritation of the match, when I first see it, the way it ended, I said it irritated me, because I was like, damn, they've built it for so long, and then this was the ending. I felt kind of let down. Yeah, and then when I kind of watched it back before we done this, and I was like, actually, it does make sense because we didn't see it coming. And as you said, it played into the tagline, and it kind of builds because about a month or so ago, or a couple months ago, Randy was in like the greatest wrestling match ever. So if anything, and then he had the top saying greatest wrestler ever. So he should see these coming, so he should be able to get out of that sort of stuff. So it plays into that as well, and it builds again. So you're right. I mean, it might have been a bit of a tacky ending, but there's a reason for it to be there, and it builds from it. So as bad as it was pretty decent.
That's a t-shirt right there, mate. Well, that's your new catchphrase. But yeah, it was also a bit odd just being Drew, because it was kind of like a plucky underdog thing to do, not a massive Drew McIntyre thing. Speaking of which as well, him on the Tree of Woe, hilarious that his head is on the floor. Like most of the Tree of Woe, he's proper hanging. He's just doing a headstand, it seems. But yeah, all in all, decent match. And not the worst finish. It weren't as bad as I think initially I thought either.
Yeah, I think it was better doing it this way than having, mind your ears here, Retribution, as they're like just coming in and like just destroying everybody. I think that would have been.
I was surprised not to see them though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Like in the show, not so much here, but just in the show.
Yes, it is strange.
Well, they spoke on it, didn't they?
Yeah. After that promo, I thought something was going to happen. Nah.
We're going to throw over to Lucas again, see what his thoughts were on this match.
I really liked the match. I felt that I loved how neither man could hit their finisher, and obviously they built a lot of the build around the Claymore versus the RKO, and we got neither. Really shock win, I felt, by Drew, and perhaps this is a sign of that the company are really behind him, which obviously is good for people who like him. I guess I don't obviously want maybe someone to have I guess they did do it with Braun, but they didn't want someone to have a world championship run with out of crowd entirely. But it looks like Drew is continuing for now. But Orton, slick as ever, and some really nice kind of back and forth between them. Two of the best in the company, really. Well, even best in the world, I'd argue.
Great insight tonight, Lucas.
I know. Pity you didn't pick the correct winner, but there we go. Anyway. So, we move on now to the main event of the show, which was the Universal Championship, which featured a newly bald-headed Braun Strowman, the Monster versus the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. So, all three of us currently on this stream picked the Fiend to come out victorious. Lucas picking Braun Strowman. Correct decision, boys? To have the Fiend win?
Yeah. Oh, we're waiting too short.
Oh, sorry, I was yawning. I was trying
all right. I thought you were I thought you were going to go into a rant.
No.
Nah, I definitely think it was the right decision. Braun's been exactly what he needed to be. Fair play, stepped up. It's been a decent feud as well, even if it has been unconventional at times, like I mentioned on the prediction show. But yeah, I thought it was good. The only issue is all the confusing things they've added to it lately. I think didn't help. Again, another scenario where you're like, who's the heel? Who's the babyface? It just was without an audience there. It was just so much harder to kind of get a gauge of what they're trying to do. Because when Braun came out, they played the fake boos. What? What? So that was really confusing. So they were basically telling us he is a bad guy here, but he's not. He's not been a bad guy, up until very recently, which seems to be not actual legit. He's been swampified, So, yeah, for that it was confusing. But other than that, a decent short match. It needed to be a decent short match because of the match we just had. Again, timelines could have been better anyway. But yeah, the way this one went down was quite good. Again, Bray's entrance looks wicked in the Thunderdome.
Looks a lot better than in the Performance Center.
Yeah, definitely. And then it was really weird that they were like false count anywhere. That means even in the street. And then they went to gorilla position. But it was cool seeing gorilla like that, used like that, which I think Michael Cole called the control center or something like that, which was a bit odd. But yeah, it was cool seeing it used, and another hard hitting match where both guys performed quite well and can't ask for much more.
Yeah. By the way, just going back to your thing about the whole the pumped-in crowd noise and stuff. There's actually so somebody has actually tweeted out that was actually part of the crowd there, that apparently they have a WWE, like a director kind of thing, who gives them cues, stuff like give a thumbs up, a thumbs down, clap, etc. at certain times. And apparently, so what they will do, they'll tell us things like, oh, in 30 seconds, shout all you can after the fireworks, show your support for X superstar, etc. So I think that, in a sense, was like strange how, like, as you say, with the Strowman thing, like where they're booing and that, it's like they've probably like been told to do that, but then it's like it'd be.
So you said it was live? You saying it was live? Like people were in a room doing that? They weren't recordings.
What's that? Of the people's reactions?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they watched the show live.
What?
Yeah,
It
apparently
sounded. That's even worse because it sounded terrible. It sounded.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like dead noise. It was the same with SmackDown with nothing. They must have a background recording as well.
Yeah. So what they do is they apparently the sound wise, because obviously they can't filter what people are going to say. Like someone could shout out like obscenities and stuff. So apparently they pump in the crowd noise from the stream, from what people are saying, add to that some of the the virtual crowd noise, and add in some of the stuff that there were a few people that are there, like maybe like the NXT talents and stuff.
Okay.
So they might like take some of that like ambient noise from there and stuff, and merge it all together to make some.
So really, then it was just mixed really bad, to be honest, because it didn't sound anything like that. Like I was hoping, like I said earlier, I was hoping there'd be PC guys on the show. So if you're saying there were guys doing that, it wasn't noticeable at all. It just felt like I was watching 2K, like WWE 2K. I was listening to those audio, like they've done on football. I just awful. I think
they need to obviously get that sorted out.
But an interesting point anyway that I find that they chose to boo Braun.
Yeah, it did confuse me a lot. Just before we talk about that, Dan, when you said there was someone like a director there, I don't know, but the first thing that popped into my head is, in the first Shrek when they say boo and R, and it's just a guy flipping it. But yeah, so going back to that, I didn't understand. Braun Strowman was not heel in this match at all. Yet the week prior, and the lead up to it, he was. I don't understand. This is the thing what I'm saying about their booking. 1 minute they have an idea, then it comes to like it's actually happening, and they don't follow through with it, and it just ends up bad. I think the only thing I really remember out of this is Braun Strowman grabbing the Stanley knife, or as it was called, a box cutter.
Box cut, yeah. I don't think. I thought you were gonna be like, "Have you met my mate Stanley?"
So and then he cut
well,
the
he
apron.
picked one up initially and was like, "How the hell do I work this one?" He had to pick up like 2 or 3 of them. It's like, mate, they're all gonna work. You just need to figure out how to do it.
I just thought, as a monster, why would he need a knife to wreck a ring?
Exactly.
He's supposed to be a monster.
Yeah, and they really hyped on that monster, that like it was Godzilla and stuff. Like it was. They really went on about that, like there were 2 villains from a horror movie or something like that. But yeah, I guess. But again, it didn't really help with what you've done with Braun recently. Like you're saying, it's just they're not. And Braun has suffered the most from that in his entire career, from them being hot and cold on things they want to do and how they want to portray his character.
Yeah, but we did have a good bit at the end with Roman.
Do you know that? Can I just? The most annoying thing about that. So I didn't watch it live. I watched it on the network this morning.
Did you get the spoiler? Same as me.
On the WWE Network, it literally comes up when you can. So you can pick where you obviously want to flick to each match, and then it says at the end, Roman Reigns returns to destroy. It's like,
Exactly. I was literally going to make the same point because I fell asleep during the Roman one, and obviously just before this, I watched before the during the Randy Orton Claymore match. And in this, so with this, I did the same thing. I was going ahead because I thought I only need to get to the end of the Randy match. I'd just go to because they used to have the little dots, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then it was you'd hover over it.
Yeah, I think what they do, that's for more for the historical one.
Yeah. So I thought, they've got them things underneath. I thought there's no way they'll mention they'll work around it somehow, and it would just be like the beginning of XYZ match. That's what I thought we were going to see. And for it to come up and I didn't go fully across. I just saw because that's what made it worse as well. The images, so you can't. It's hard to ignore. But I saw the image of Bray's hair flying, like the dreads just floating through the air. So I knew something was happening to him, and the only word I saw was Roman. And I thought, are you serious? I watched the whole match knowing Roman was coming back, which really, really was disappointing. Like, the day after, guys, the day after, just don't update your descriptions for at least, 2 weeks.
24 hours or something.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
But yeah, I love that. And do you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of Roman. I enjoy him. I wasn't a part of I don't like Roman because it's cool. I wasn't a fan when I felt like at that point Dean and Seth were doing a lot more, and Roman was the one they handpicked. Since he come back and with the leukemia thing, he stayed in mid-card, didn't go after a main title. I started to enjoy him, and obviously the COVID-19 stuff happened, so it kind of stopped again. His return was so good, and I was so invested by the fact that he attacked both of them, and then when he was hitting Braun, he said, "You're not a monster unless I'm here." And I
didn't understand that though.
Because they had their feud, and he kept saying, "I'm a monster," and he kept saying, what was it? I'm not done with you yet."
Because I felt like he was trying to be like a lot of times, like Austin and Rock would come back, even as baby faces. So I know some people trying to make out like Roman was being heel, which I don't think he was. I think he was just aggressive about coming back. Yeah. But that was just a really weird line to me, because that makes it sound like I thought he was kind of being like, "I'm the star. Like, you aren't important unless I'm here." Like, that's what I thought he was saying. But he is a monster. Yeah. He's always a monster. He's a monster either way. So that line didn't really capture me. Like, I got what he was trying to say. I think he was trying to be like, this whole place don't mean a thing unless I'm around, because I'm the man. All the eyes are on me and you because I'm here. Like, that's what I thought he was trying to do. But so the monster thing didn't really stick for me. But like you said though, like, the way they did the return was great. It's a fresh thing to see Reigns again. Really exciting to see, and this is what makes it worse, that spoiler, because the way they filmed it, even though I knew it was going to happen, that he just came into shot spearing him. Yeah. It was perfect. It was really, really well done. And Roman just going mad even, and just having, what was that shirt, "Wreck Everyone" or whatever it is.
Wreck everyone and leave. Do you know what I was looking?
It's like the Austin "Arrive, Raise Hell, Leave."
Yeah,
it's like that one pretty much. But what do we think of Roman's new teeth as well? Because I noticed that's got a lot of traction on social media as well.
They're pearly, aren't they?
I didn't notice. Something seemed different. I didn't notice it was that.
Literally, there's one shot where he's in the corner, and it's just like the most cheesiest smile. He just looks totally different with it. It's like, is it even the same guy?
I couldn't figure it out. There was something. I was thinking, no, he's always had a beard. I was like, is his hair thicker? Why was his hair be thicker? Like,
He was like myself. He had a gap in the middle of his teeth before, and he's now gone full on like Ryland Clark and got the older veneers all the way around. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think to see what they're going to do with him going forward. Whether they're going to like take the flak jacket off of him at last and just have him go out there and just essentially just put a bit more personality into him and like remove the Shield aspect from Roman Reigns. I think they need to just let him go out there, just be a badass, like, whether he's going to be face or heel, whatever they want to do with him, just let him be an absolute badass. If he wants to go back to his trunks that he wore in, like, NXT, FCW, all that kind of stuff, let him do all that kind of stuff. Just let him go out there, be who he needs to be. And I think Roman versus Fiend is going to be a brilliant feud. I think from what I've seen, they're going back to apparently what was meant to be happening around WrestleMania time.
Yeah.
But obviously, Goldberg's not around this time round, thankfully. But yeah, so I think in the end it was, it was the best result that they could have done was having Bray win it. I mean, of all the environment that they had, like doing the move onto essentially like a couple of wooden planks when they had like concrete around. I think I'd rather take a bump on wooden planks than a concrete floor. But two Sister Abigails, and surprisingly there was no like shenanigans with like Alexa Bliss that was like rumored that there was going to be. From the way that the show was like marketed, it's like you were thinking there was going to be a hell of a lot more like shenanigans than there actually was on the show, which was nice. I think, it was a decent enough match. It did what it needed to do. It transitioned the title back over to the Fiend, but Now I just hope that they don't drop the ball with him and just have him like lose it in like a couple of weeks. I hope that he does go on a bit of a run with it.
That is the worry. You know, it did seem like Roman was coming back for this, but you know, to go into this storyline. But it is a worry that he's going to get the belt straight away. And I really hope he don't. Not because of the whole only Roman stuff. Yeah, because like Rob, I'm excited to see him back now. I'm looking forward to see what they do with him. And like you were saying, Dan, as well, if they put a bit more personality into it, let him be himself, then, you know, let's go for it. But there is a massive danger that they're going to fall into the same trap and they're going to give it to him. And it's going to make it worse because it's just like that time Ray got booed because Daniel Bryan went in the Rumble. You know, Ray was getting a bit stale and Bryan was really, really hot. And those two things collided and really worked negatively against Ray. And yeah, with this, everyone is worried about the Fiend not being protected and everyone's worried about Reigns getting too much of a shine. And if they do it too early, you're gonna upset people on two levels, and they need to really be careful with that. But it's going to Reigns eventually, like we know that, and we're okay with that. But let's just be patient with it. Like you gave Braun all this time, let's give the Fiend the same amount of time.
Yeah, definitely.
I think what you said was right. I think the only thing that they can add to the feud that's kind of going to be reignited is they've feuded in the past, Roman and Bray, that is. And they brought in kind of a part with his daughter, and he kept putting photos up of her. And they ended in a Hell in a Cell match. If I remember rightly, that was the final match between the two. Even that was good. So if that's the way they're going to go, which it seems like, they've already got something there. So if they was to build off of that and say, look, you've beaten the old Bray, you can't beat the Fiend, then it's a perfect place to stick them and then rebuild something.
Because even Bray could be like, things have changed around here since you've been gone.
Yeah.
You know, like stuff like that.
Exactly.
Even though it was the thing before he left, you mix those two things together.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the Hell in a Cell thing. Like you've got you've got Clash of Champions in September, and then you've got Hell in a Cell is the next pay-per-view after that.
Makes
so
sense.
you know, and they've got pretty much like a month and a bit to work towards that as well. So
Just hope it doesn't end up like the last Fiend Hell in a Cell with a Shield member.
And hopefully they revert back to a normal coloured cell, not a awful
red one.
Red
the thing was,
cell.
the worst thing about that, I think the red cell wasn't too bad. It was bad enough,
well.
but the lighting was atrocious.
Yeah. But they've got rid of that now, though, haven't they?
Yeah.
So we're going to throw over to Lucas for the final thoughts on this match.
Let's be real, no one's going to remember much of the match apart from the first board bumps in a few years. I felt that it was all right. You know, they didn't do enough. I felt, especially with obviously what's gone on. You know, I think some people were expecting Alexa Bliss to come back, and I'm all right with the Fiend winning. I'm guessing, they wanted it off Strowman, but obviously everything that is about this match doesn't matter because the real story here is the big dog and his teeth are back. Roman Reigns coming back afterwards, and I don't think he's heel. I think that he's potentially just doing like a Stone Cold / Dean Ambrose kind of role where he's just like, he wants to basically mess everyone up. And I'm just so glad he is back because I think it will, they're after the ratings, they're after views that people can invest in. As much as some people do hate Roman Reigns, he gets internet talking. And I felt he looked really strong in this. And I don't know if they're going to jump straight to it at Payback and really get maybe a triple threat of Roman Reigns against the Fiend. I don't know if they're going to do that within 7 days. But if they do, we could be in for an incredible match, Payback or further down the line.
I didn't see that coming.
Definitely not. Something else we didn't see coming was the prediction table and the swing of the prediction table.
Well, someone might not have seen it coming, mate, but someone definitely did.
So we go over to our predictions table, and sitting at the bottom of the table, still in single figures, a solitary correct prediction on this show. Come on, man. Lucas sitting at the bottom on 9 points. Not so closely followed on 15 in third place by our resident luchador, El Robio.
Yeah. The minute I see that, I was like, I think I only got 3 right. I was like, I'm done on this table.
Well, it's me and Scott got 5 each correct on it. So it's pretty much so. There's no change at the top. Me sitting in second, Scott sitting top of the table. 16 for me, 17 for Scott.
I'm still trying to break away a bit further, but I'm glad we kept up at least.
I think it helped you picking like the Asuka and Asuka Bayley thing.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, I was gonna pick Asuka. I just wished I'd have gone with Asuka for that one now. Then again, it's also like I wish that I was allowed the Sasha Banks one from the last paper.
Come on,
I'm still bitter about that one.
But yeah, so not ours.
That was, yeah. So there we have it. That is the table. Scott at the top, me in second, Rob in third, Lucas in fourth. That was our review and recap of SummerSlam 2020. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to Lucas for your contribution to this. We will see you guys soon. Thanks a lot. See you later.